Well, hello, I'm Joe Tortonesi, and this is Joe's Drum Shop. Basically, I wanted to make this program for people who were interested in music, but weren't sure what they wanted to do. And I figured drums is a really nice instrument to start with because you have a lot of, more of the rhythms instead of the melody. So it's a lot easier for students to learn. I've been teaching for over 40 years now, and been playing, actually started playing about 50 years ago, and it was quite hard, to start with, but I needed a teacher, and it's so important to have a teacher. So if you guys have been out there and you really want to play an instrument, but you're not sure what you want to do, like I said, drums is a great way to start. And I have a book we're going to be running through, and hopefully you'll understand it. I'm going to break it down as super easy as possible, so that even the beginner, very first person that doesn't even know anything about drums or music or anything, I can get you guys going. But you got to have something to practice on. Usually, when I first started, I actually had a practice pad. And one of the things that helped me out was when I took lessons was to practice on that practice pad every day. I'd spend probably 10 to 15 minutes to start off with, and get myself going with a lot of the teacher's requests out of the book, and that's how I learned little by little. And that's what I'm going to be going through here. So today, this book that I have here, it's basically this called Drums 1, and it's put out by a company called Hal Leonard, and it's called the Fast Track Method. Now there's a lot of books out there that you can get that go a lot farther, and they take a lot longer to get up and running. And this is why I actually chose this. A lot of my students basically here are, it's important for them to kind of, get up and running as quick as they can, because, it can get a little tedious when you're trying to learn something that's a little tricky at first. So you want to, get the basics down, and basically once you have that, you can get up and running with playing a beat. And that's what everybody wants to do, at least play some type of pattern. So the first thing out of the book, I'm going to explain some things before we get started. And one of the things is, first of all, you got to know about the drums. Each one of these drums these are electronic. Now you can get electronic or you can get acoustic. It doesn't matter. This book is designed for both, so again, that doesn't matter. But each pad that I have here represents a different drum. So the one that I have right here, this one here, basically that's the snare drum. That's the main part of the drum set. That's the heartbeat of the drum set. The rest of these are called toms, and toms have been around for a long, long time. Started with the American Indians, obviously. We've been hearing drums like that for many, many, many years. And they started with maybe a log and some animal skin to start off with, and basically wrap that around the log, and you got a sound. So one of the things that on acoustic, as opposed to electronic, when you hit the drum, now if I don't have these plugged in, you're not going to be able to hear anything. It's just like 4 practice pads, or 5 if you count the bass drum. And then you've got your different cymbals, and then that's a whole nother ball game. So with acoustic drums, they all set up the same way. Now I'm a right-handed drummer. If you're left-handed, then everything would be the opposite of the way everything's set up here. So once I have my hi-hat I'm a right-handed drummer, so I'm going to have the hi-hat on the left side. If I'm a left-handed drummer, I'd have it on the right side. And then vice versa. The snare and this drum right here is called the floor tom. I would have these swapped. And these pads on an electronic drum set doesn't really matter because they're the same thing. But on an acoustic drum set, you're actually going to have 2 different sizes. One's going to be bigger than the other. So you have, right here is your first tom. This is your second tom, and then your third tom. And again, like I said, the snare drum is the main drum. That's kind of the heartbeat of the whole kit. And then down below I have the bass drum, and that's with a pedal. Now the drum set's only been around since the early 1900s. They used to call it a trap set, was a short name for it. But back in the day, when they first come up with the idea, they called it a contraption. They didn't know what to call it. So they had to call it something, and for short, they switched it and called it a trap set. Then later on, as drums started getting added and more cymbals, basically what happened was they called it a drum set finally, and that's where you get to this day. We call it a drum set. So again, that's the drums, the snare, first tom, second tom, third tom. Sometimes they call these rack toms because on an acoustic set, if they're actually there's a pole, an arm that comes up, and it mounts those to the bass drum, that they sometimes call those rack drums. So there's a lot of different ways to call them, but again, these are again toms, and then your floor tom, and usually a floor tom will have 3 legs. Now this one doesn't have 3 legs on it because again it's a pad, it's a little different. But let's talk with the cymbals now. We'll start with those. Over here on my left is the hi-hats, and this is basically the whole timekeeper of the whole drum set, and I'm going to get into that more as we go. The Roland, this is a Roland kit. All these pads are Roland. This first cymbal right here basically is a crash cymbal, and we use that for accenting on certain parts of patterns or fills, and I'll get into all that later as well. We have another crash over here, and then on the right side over here I have a ride cymbal. And the ride cymbal got its name because usually the stick will actually ride on top of the cymbal, whereas like where they're crash, you're just hitting crashes one after the other. They don't stay on there too long, but this kind of tends to stay on there and it plays, just like the hi-hat. So you can almost say basically that these cymbals, even though they sound different, they're actually the same thing. Their job is the same when you're playing a drum set. Okay, so first of all, that's the whole kit in a nutshell, and there's a couple ways now I'm going to show you to hold the drumsticks. Okay, so here's my sticks, and basically these are made by Vic Firth, and I'm actually a Vic Firth private drum teacher, and this is one of the things that Vic Firth, he had made some really good sticks back in the day, and I am officially a with Vic Firth as far as the drumsticks, and they send me things from time to time. I'll get some things, some brand new objects, you know, like practice pads or sticks or, you know, bags or posters, different things, so that I can, you know, help with my students. So one of the things, I'm holding it this way, as you can see, I'm basically cradling the stick, and this stick right now, like I said, I'm right-handed, but if you're right-handed, this is the way you hold it in the left hand. So this is my left hand, and I'm basically cradling it between my 2 fingers on top, 2 fingers underneath, okay, like that. And then this one, I'm holding straight with the thumb and basically the finger here like this, thumb and first finger, and I have both these 3 fingers underneath just holding it very loosely, okay? Again, same thing here, very loosely. You don't want to grab them tight because you want the sticks to move in your hand. It's so important to have those move in your hand. Okay, so this is what they call traditional grip. As you can see here, this is what they use in marching, and this is from a long time ago, back when, you know, old George Washington was alive. Drummers going off to war would use this way, and they would have this big, gigantic drum with a harness, and it would kind of hang to the side. So I'm sure some drummer picked up some sticks one day and decided to hit the drum and noticed that his arm was sticking out, his left arm, because he would hit the rim of the drum, because again, the drum is sideways like this. So you would hit the drum and he would hit the rim, but he wants to actually hit the drum head. So he figured a way to make the hand go underneath the stick, and now the left hand is in that traditional grip, and now he could play because, again, that drum is sideways, so the stick would lay sideways again. And this one didn't need to go like that, because if you did, it would be in another uncomfortable position, and you don't want that either. So I basically have one grip like this. This is what they call the match grip, and then the traditional grip right here. So that's the way they would play. And in jazz, later on in the 20s and the 30s and 40s, big band jazz was a big thing, and drummers, this is the way they played. They had set up their drum set. Again, their snare drum was sideways, a little bit tilted, again for that grip, to kind of harness that grip and play around the drums to get a lot more comfortable that way. Now, there's another type of grip, and I was mentioning with this hand, this is called the match grip. And the reason why I call it match grip is because this hand is doing the same as this. So the right and the left, basically, again, thumb and first finger, like that. You're almost kind of like pinching it. And then the other 3 fingers lightly go around, okay, just like that. And then basically you just sit like this, and you make sure your back is straight. You know, if your practice pad's here or you have a drum set, whether it's electric or acoustic, doesn't matter again. But you would play like this. And it's basically just nice, even strokes. As you hit the stick on the drum, you just give it a nice little hit and just relax your hands. And that's basically it. That's all there is to this grip, okay? Now, in the book, as we go through, there are important parts of the stick. So I'll talk about this. So this is the tip of the stick over here. And then you have a shank of the stick or the shoulder. And then the butt end or the end of the stick. And again, you don't want to hold the stick way down like this. You want to hold it a little bit farther up. Now I have these grips on here. This helps me hold the stick a lot easier. You don't have to have these, but it's just something that I've used over the years, and it helps me play a lot longer, and I don't have to hold the sticks really tight. So as I'm playing, I want the stick to kind of balance. Now if I hold the stick like this, and I try to get a balance of the stick in my hand like that, you can see I can balance it right there. And if I hold it exactly at that spot, and let's go and we're going to play the snare drum again, and I drop the stick down, the stick bounces a couple times, but that's all it does. So I want to be able to hold that stick not where the center is, but just behind the center. And as I do, see, look at now the snare basically wants to, the stick on the head just wants to go crazy. See? So that's when I know, when I've got a lot of reaction with the stick, I know I'm holding it in the right spot. Okay? Now some sticks are longer, some sticks are shorter, but that doesn't matter. You're basically going to use, again, that same method I did. You don't have to try to balance it, but it helps kind of maybe. And then again, there's the balance point, but you want to be behind the balance point, maybe an inch or two. And again, there you go. There's the bounce of the stick. Same thing with the left. Whatever you do with the left, you do with the right. All right, next, let's talk about basic notes, okay? So we have some notes, and the first note that I'm going to show you is called the quarter note. And quarter notes actually count like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Just like that. This is a quarter note. Now, a little bit faster notes are called eighth notes, and they actually play in between the quarter note. So it would be like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like that. Okay? So again, quarter notes and then eighth notes. And that's what we're going to be using, these 2 types of notes. Okay, on the next page, we're on lesson 1. This is on page 8, again, and this is in the book Drums 1. And it's the Fast Track Method by Hal Leonard. And we're going to start off with the ride cymbal. This is how we're going to get started. So basically, the ride cymbal is going to do quarter notes. Now they've got, on this book, they've got 3 measures. And what a measure is, they have a bar going from one part to another. So there's actually 1, 2, 3 sections, and those sections will be broken into 4. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? That's the first whole exercise, okay? Next, on the, it's called number 3, Ride This number 1. It's on page 9. We're going to practice doing eighth notes. So remember, the eighth notes are starting off like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? Next one. Now we're going to take the quarter notes and we're going to take the eighth notes and we're going to put them together. So let's do that. So the first one is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, let's do that one more time. Quarter notes first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, the next time. Now we're going to do 2 measures of quarter notes and 2 measures of eighth notes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eighth notes. And 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. All right, so that's our right stick, okay? Sometimes we're playing with our hi-hat, sometimes we play with a ride cymbal. All right, on the next page, we're on to page 10 in the book, and it's lesson 2. We're going to get the old snare going. Now, snare, actually on an acoustic snare, there is a rim, and that's the metal part of the drum. Of course, on here, it's black rubber, but on a regular acoustic drum, it's metal. And then we have the head in the center. And so when you play, most of the time, either whether you're playing acoustic or electric, you're going to make sure that you play in the center of the drum at all times. You don't want to play towards the edge, because then you don't get that nice, true drum sound. You want a nice, full sound of the drum. And so when you hit it, make sure you hit it in the center, okay? So what I like to do is just start off, and these basically are going to be on, when you're dealing with them in the book on music, they're actually going to be on the second space down. So you have 4 spaces, okay? You've got the first space, second space, third space, fourth space. The second space is always going to be the snare, and you'll see that in your book when you get one. So we're going to practice what they call backbeat. Now, when we play, the backbeat falls if we're counting to 4, which most of the time we are for beginner stuff. We're going to start off and make sure we play this on 2 and 4. So I'm going to start counting quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that's the first exercise. The next one, now we're going to add the right hand, which we've been doing, and we've been doing quarter notes and eighth notes. Now we're going to play quarter notes on the ride cymbal for 4 measures, and we're going to play 2 and 4 on the snare drum. So this takes a little more concentration. Basically, all you have to do is get your ride cymbal going, and again, start and think about how fast you're going to play it. I'll start it off real slow. It's going to start like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to add the snare drum. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's one way to play. So we had quarter notes on the ride cymbal, 2 and 4 on the snare. Here we go. The next one we're going to play is eighth notes now. Again, we're going to play a little bit faster. But again, think of that quarter note in the back of your head, how we were going 1, 2, 3, 4. But then we're going to speed it up now. So now these are the eighth notes. So we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we're going to put that snare drum on 2 and 4 with it. So let's put these two together. Here's what it sounds like. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, exercise number 3. Now we're going to be playing back, we're going to do quarter notes again. And I'm going to start off again with the ride cymbal. Again, here's your quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're going to add the snare drum on 2 and 4 with that. So here's what that sounds like. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. And then last but not least, we're actually going to play again eighth notes. We're going back to the eighth notes, playing a little bit faster. And then we're also going to put the quarter notes on the snare drum, but we're not just going to play on 2 and 4. we're going to play on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's going to sound like this. It's a little different, a little more busier. So it's going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like that. Now we're going to add that quarter note. Here we go, the extra quarter notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, next we're on to page 12. We're going to be talking about the bass drum. And again, the bass drum is the big one. It's the biggest drum on the drum set. Usually an acoustic set, usually it's about 22 inches. Sometimes you might find a 20-inch or a 24-inch. They sound a little different, slightly different, but it's not that big of a deal when you're getting a first drum set for the first time. Usually if you're going to buy a drum set, I want to say probably for an acoustic set, you're going to spend about maybe $200 to $300 if you buy a brand new one. If you could find one maybe used, you might find it for a little bit less than $200. But you really got to watch what you buy, because if you buy something used, you got to make sure it's not worn out too much or broke or cracked, or something maybe with the cymbals could be cracked. You really got to watch for that stuff. So when you're looking, be smart. Make sure you can check out the drum set before you buy it, okay? So that's one of the things. Okay, so on that, remember the 4 spaces. So the very top space, we're on the second space we were dealing with, that was the snare drum. We go down to the third space, and that's going to be another drum, but we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to talk about the bottom space, and that is the bass drum. Just like the bass is on the bottom, in notation-wise for drum set players, the bass is always going to be on the bottom space right there, okay? Now, in this case, on beat, it's called Feats Beats number 1. It's number 9. It's the exercise number 9. The bass drum is going to be on different notes. So let's talk about some other kind of notes. Now, so far, everything that I've talked about today so far has been quarter notes and eighth notes, right? Now, quarter notes and eighth notes are usually how you get started. But there are some slower ones, and there are some faster ones. We haven't got to those yet. So the very first one I'd like to talk about is the whole note. So we're going to use the bass drum and pretend we're going to play like a couple of measures of whole notes, just to get the feel of it. Okay, so remember when we were playing quarter notes, we were doing 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 notes took the length of one whole note. But with a whole note, you only play it once. So it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So that's whole notes. Half notes are going to be twice. We only get 2 counts. Okay? So think of when I hit the bass drum, I had to wait 4 counts before I hit the next bass drum, right? So now we're going to deal with half notes. Half notes get every 2 counts. So when I hit it on 1, I hit it on the 3. Okay, so here's what it's going to sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's half notes. And then we have our quarter notes, which will be, again, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now let's do a little exercise with that. We're going to go back to that Feats Beats number 1. And this is a mixture of them. First of all, the first measure starts with half notes. So we're going to do the half notes. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the next measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next measure, back to half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the last measure is going to be half notes and quarter notes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Second line. Next one's going to be half notes and quarter notes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next measure, 2 quarter notes and a half note, reversed. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the next measure is 4 quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the last one is 2 half notes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. All together, I'm going to play it one more time. I'll play it all the way through, and I'm just going to count it. Here we go. Again, we're on Feats Beats number 1, and this is exercise 9 on page 13. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? All right. Now, next one, Feats Beats number 2. We're on number 10. And now this one's going to add some things called rests. Okay? So all the notes that I've covered so far, we went over the whole note, which gets 4 counts. Half note, 2 counts. We got the quarter note, 1 count. And later on, we're going to get into some faster ones. But right now, those are the main ones. So whole note, half notes, and quarter notes, okay? And every note that we cover on this also has a rest, okay? So for instance, if we have a whole note, it has its own whole rest. If we have a half note, it becomes a half rest, okay? And what I mean by that is sometimes you're going to play notes, and sometimes you're going to need to rest. And that's what those rests are. So in this next exercise, they're going to show you a half note with a half rest. It'll play like this. I'm going to play on beat 1, and of course beat 2 is part of the half note. And then basically you're going to go into a half rest, and you're going to count the other 3 and 4. So it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Again, I'll do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next one, we're going to do 2 quarter notes and a half note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And then the next measure, we've got a half rest and 2 quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the last measure, again, one more half rest with a half note. That's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's play this exercise all the way through. Here we go. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that's the exercise. All right, next one, this is the last exercise on page 13. It's basically quarter notes, half notes, quarter rest, and half rest. So now let's go over these. So every quarter note, remember, gets 1 count. A half rest is going to get 1 count. If we're doing half notes, half rests are going to get a half for 2 counts. So we're going to play 11, and it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that's the end of page 13. We're going to start putting the ride cymbal with the bass drum, and we're going to do quarter notes and some half notes. So let's talk about these. So on exercise number 12, it's called bass ride number 1. The ride cymbal is going to play quarter notes, and then the bass drum is going to play half notes, and they'll end up on 1 and 3. So let's do that. Here's simple as this. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. All right, the next one. This is actually number 13, bass ride number 2. We're going to be playing eighth notes, and that's going to be on the ride cymbal. And again, half notes on 1 and 3. So let's hear what these sound like. 1, 2, ready, go. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 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 and. All right. Pretty fun to do. And again, that is a main rhythm in a lot of rock stuff. So we're getting to the point now where we're playing the ride cymbal, the snare drum, and the bass, and then later on we're going to do the hi-hat, and that's actually will play a beat. Okay, so we're getting to that point right now. One more thing, we're going to do bass drum with all quarter notes and ride cymbal quarter notes. So here's what these sound like. Ready, go. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Next one. Again, we're going to do the same thing with bass drums on all 4, and the ride cymbal is going to be playing eighth notes this time. So we're going to play a little faster. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 stop. All right. Now we're going to leave the ride cymbal alone just for a second, and the last exercise on page 14 is bass and snare. So we're going to use the snare with our left stick, and our right foot is going to play on the beater with the pedal on the bass drum, and we're going to play bass and, is going to be on 1 and 3, snare drums on 2 and 4. This is the beginning stages of the rock beat. We're finally going to get it together. Here we go. So 1, 2, ready, go. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And stop. All right. And then the last one, we're going to play quarter notes on the bass drum and snare drum on 2 and 4. Again, because that's where that backbeat was. Remember when we first started playing the snare drum? The first thing I had you do was the snare drum landed on 2 and 4. But not on 1 and 3. This time the bass drum's playing on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's hear what that sounds like. 1, 2, ready, go. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 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 And stop. All right. Now we're getting to the point where we're going to play 3 things at once. It's kind of like rubbing your tummy and patting your head. Remember those days? Okay. Well, here we go. We're going to start off with quarter notes on the ride cymbal, snare drums on 2 and 4, and the bass drum will be on 1 and 3. Again, everything's quarter notes, so just take your time with it. Again, if you make a mistake, just start it over again, okay? That's the whole point of practicing, is if you make a mistake, just keep doing it, and eventually you'll get it, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And stop. All right. Next one. Now we're going to go to eighth notes. Remember, those are the ones that go a little bit faster than quarter notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're going to start those with the ride. Again, the bass is on 1 and 3, snare drums on 2 and 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and stop. All right, very good. Next, on exercise number 19, it's combo number 3. We're going to be playing, again, going back to quarter notes on the ride cymbal. Snare drum's on 2 and 4, and the bass drum is going to be playing on all 4 this time. So you can say that the ride cymbal and the bass will connect together. Okay. So here's how this sounds. 1, 2, ready, go. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 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 All right. A little bit more busier, okay, as you can see. And it's got a lot more punch to it because the bass was falling right with the snare drum, but then right between, as the bass drum would normally be on 1 and 3. So it gives it a little more punch to the beat, okay? Sometimes you need that for certain songs. Some are just regular, some are a little bit more, need more volume. All right, the last one here on combo number 4. This is, by the way, we're on lesson 4 on page 15. And again, it is number 20, exercise number 20, combo number 4. We're going to put the bass drum on all 4, and the ride cymbal is playing 8 notes, and the snare drum's on 2 and 4. So here we go. 1, 2, ready, go, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 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 and stop. All right. Next, these 4 patterns that we just got done doing with the ride cymbal, now we're going to play them with the hi-hat. So here's our chance to actually sound like some of the famous rock beats you might have heard on different famous songs, okay? So the first one is going to be quarter notes on the hi-hat, snare drum on 2 and 4, and bass drum on 1 and 3. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop. All right. Next one, exercise number 22, nice hats number 2. Again, we're on page 16, lesson 5, and we're going to be playing the same thing, except now we changed the hi-hat to 8th notes. And here's how these go. 1, 2, ready, go, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. All right. That's a very famous beat. I wish I had a dime for every time I heard that beat played. I'd probably be a millionaire by now. So, all right, 23, hi-hat number 3. This is going to be quarter notes on the hi-hat, snare drum on 2 and 4 as usual, but the bass drum is going to play on all 4. So here's how this one sounds. 1, 2, ready, go, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop. All right, and the last one. This is number 24, hi-hats, nice hat, number 4. And the 8th notes are going to be playing on the hi-hat this time, so we'll play a little bit faster hi-hats. The snare drum again on 2 and 4, and the bass drum on all 4. This is one that's going to be a little more punchy sounding, so take a listen. 1, 2, ready, go, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 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 and stop. All right. Okay, so we left off on lesson 5. We did the main patterns with the hi-hat. We also did them with the ride cymbal. We're going to do something really cool next week. We're going to start adding the foot to the hi-hat. That means we're going to use the left foot along with the ride cymbal. We're going to go over that. and we're going to have a lot more fun. We're going to add some things to the drums. We're going to do fills. There's a whole mess of stuff, so catch me on the next show of Joe's Drum Shop. And until then, you guys take care, keep rocking. This is Joe signing off. We'll see you next time.